A warm welcome to all of you watching Rwanda Television to this latest edition of the news with me, Sarah Hori. As always, we'll begin with the headlines. President Paul Kagame has held a press conference here in Kigali. Now straight to the details. Thank you for taking the time to join us. His Excellency President Paul Kagame has stressed that the security situation in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo should be addressed from its root causes rather than continuing to blame Rwanda. Adam Squeezer with the details.
During the press conference, President Paul Kagame once again addressed the insecurity that has persisted for years in the Eastern DRC. On this issue, President Kagame said that both the causes of the crisis and possible solutions are well known, but that some actors deliberately ignore them in an attempt to shift the blame onto Rwanda.
The facts are there, they are clear. The origin of the problem is known. The handling and the mishandling of this problem over many years is known. The actors are known. So there have been, you are talking about the Washington Accords. These are just recent efforts. Before that, over many years past, the efforts and discussions and noises about how to deal with the problem have run into their hundreds. But you still remain with the problem. Some would even want to simplify it and say it is Rwanda the problem. Meaning if we didn't have Rwanda, or if there was a way of carrying this country somewhere and turn it into an island in the Pacific or Indian Ocean or wherever, remove it from here. That may be a solution. That's what they imply here. That maybe a solution would be found.
President Kagame also said that the way countries and the international community have approached the crisis has not contributed to addressing its root causes.
There are many parties to this problem. One is Congo, the other is the international community that has really messed up this whole thing from the beginning, as we know it. There is Rwanda, there are other countries of our region. All these have a way they have contributed to the problem and the way they can contribute to a solution. But the way it is handled seems not to put that into account. And that's why the problem goes on forever. Nobody addresses the root cause of this problem. I haven't heard of any effort so far that focuses and tries to address the root cause.
The head of state also criticized those who are quick to impose sanctions on Rwanda while overlooking the role of armed groups including FDLR and other groups accused of contributing the insecurity in the region.
So no root cause addressed. Then immediately there are sanctions. sanctions. I've never understood, sanctions, yes, they really create problems. They do. But that is all. There are problems added to the problems that were originally there. That's all. It's not anything to do with trying to address the problem. And especially if you look at the manner in which they are applied. instead of sanctioning FDLR or those who work with them or support them, they sanction those who fight them. I mean, I don't understand the logic.
President Paul Kagame further said that cooperation between the FDLR and the DRC government is not a fabricated claim, noting that many former fighters from the group have spoken about it themselves. President Kagame said the role of the FDLR should not be assessed solely based on the number or size of its fighters, which he said continues to grow while the group maintains cooperation with the DRC government. Adams Kwizera, RwandaTV News.
During the press conference, the president also responded to a question concerning the free movement of people across Africa's borders.
Hello, my name is Mariam and I'm a content creator from Morocco. I have been cycling around the continent for the last 3 years, crossing 34 African countries. And while traveling, I saw how...
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. And while cycling, I saw how much it was challenging and expensive to cross borders. And
especially Rwanda.
Rwanda was visa-free, so I was glad this
I thought it was challenging in terms of mountains and...
No, the physical challenge was easier than the borders crossing.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, so while crossing, I saw how this limits African connection with each others.
Yeah.
But we saw how Rwanda was example of African interaction and making it easier, like for African to cross the country or visit the country. Mm-hmm. And my question for Your Excellency, what's the example of the mindsets you can give, like, to African leaders to make it easier for Africans to connect and build opportunities together? Thank you.
Right. Well, to begin with, I don't want even remotely to be perceived like I'm thinking for other people. I think for myself, and together with Rwandans, we think for ourselves. We can think together with others if they want so, if they invite us, if they think it is helpful. But we always want to do our best at home here. But in the meetings we have had, and there have been several at different government official levels of different countries on our continent, to talk about this visa-free or making really ease of crossing borders and so on and so forth. We give our opinion, not only our opinion, but example of what we are doing for ourselves, so that other people either may, because what we are telling them, first we demonstrate that we have not encountered any serious problems by making it easy for people to cross our border, in or out. We just demonstrate that. We haven't found any problems. What we have discovered are only benefits. And that's what we share with the people. We tell them, for us, in our experience, we have discovered the benefits. And we tell our brothers and sisters, why wouldn't you want these benefits yourselves? But that's where we stop, because we can't do anything for anybody else. So, yeah, we keep doing what we think is best for us, or even for the continent, that is within our means, and keep sharing it, and keep looking forward to working together with others in the continent to do really what is expected. That's the only thing we can do. Yeah. So otherwise, I mean, one of the benefits is that you can be there and tell the story. You didn't lose anything, we didn't lose anything. I think we gained that you were able to come to our country and do whatever you want to do, and you will leave when you want to leave, and you will come back sooner rather than later. And that's, so imagine if it was multiplied thousands or millions of times, the benefits the Africans would have in that.
President Paul Kagame has made it clear that protecting the lives and health of people by removing substandard alcoholic beverages from the Rwandan market should take precedence over the interests of those producing such drinks. And Nora Gladys with more.
This year, 3 residents of Nyarwesel, Funge sector in Rwamagana district died after consuming substandard alcoholic beverages. This is one of the several such cases. Health authorities have reported that more than 50 people died from consuming substandard alcoholic beverages during the first 7 months of 2026. Speaking to journalists, President Paul Kagame said that both locally produced and imported alcoholic beverages that failed to meet required standards had already claimed a significant number of lives. The head of state also warned individuals who continue to engage in the sale and distribution of alcoholic beverages that have been removed from the market, saying they will not be spared. He further warned officials responsible for monitoring the quality and safety of alcoholic beverages that they would be held accountable if they fail to fulfill their responsibilities.
Kuri iyo ntambara rero abanyumva cyangwa n'ababirimo bo babyiteguye ntabwo abo turaza kuhangana nabo nyine.
As far as this fight is concerned, those who hear us or those who are involved in these activities should be prepared, because we are going to confront them. Things will be brought into order as they should be, and people know what is required of them. That is precisely why those responsible for various tasks related to safety and standards are appointed. These institutions were established to ensure that all activities do not harm people, but instead contribute to improving people's lives. I believe that some of these individuals may be involved in this, and they could even have interests in some of these manufacturing facilities. Alternatively, the facilities owners may be influencing them, causing them to turn a blind eye and allow their products to reach the market and end up harming people. That is how I see it. However, they will have to answer for themselves once they are held accountable and investigated for these actions.
The Rwanda Investigation Bureau recently announced that since July 20th, a total of 104 people have been arrested on suspicion of offences related to the production of substandard alcoholic beverages. Rwanda Investigation Bureau also said 97 case files have been submitted to the prosecution, while court proceedings against some of the suspects have already begun.
The President has given assurances that efforts will continue to ensure that the country has the necessary water and electricity infrastructure. And our Gladys continues.
Communities across the country say that although significant progress has been made in expanding access to water and electricity, there is still a need to further increase the availability of these essential services. Speaking to journalists, President Paul Kagame said the available resources will continue to be used effectively to address challenges such as these.
What we want to achieve, as you know, is a lot, but the available resources are not enough to match our ambitions. We are constantly looking for ways to increase resources so that we can expand our activities, whether in water or electricity. We are not necessarily talking about acquiring completely new resources, but rather about making better use of the resources we already have. The management of resources and rainwater sometimes carries things away, as do activities undertaken by individuals or by people who do not work with the government. However, sometimes these activities are not carried out as they should be. Therefore, we need to look at how the government can strengthen its capacity and increase its capabilities while also strengthening monitoring and follow-up. We cannot always have excuses for failing to do what we already have the capacity to do, especially when there are many things that can and should be done by individuals or institutions. In such cases, however, there needs to be monitoring, at least to ensure that what is possible is done, and that solutions are also sought for what we currently do not have the capacity to do.
Figures from the electricity distribution utility at the end of the last year show that 85.4% of the population now has access to electricity, up from 64.53% 5 years earlier. Meanwhile, the 7th Integrated Household Living Condition Survey ECV7, released last year, shows that 87% of the population has access to clean water.
Starting Tuesday, Rwanda will be hosting a forum bringing together Africans to reflect on how mindsets that continue to hold back the continent can be challenged, while promoting a new generation of Africans who put the interests of the continent at the forefront. And Nora Gladys once more.
Participants attending the Africa Mindset Reset Forum 2026 say they want to see an Africa where all countries on the continent are accessible to every African, and where Africans can feel a sense of belonging across the continent.
I can see Africa as in its strength. It's the Gen Zs, the new generation. I love the way the new generation is able to do all this content creation, influencing, and they're really getting money out of it, and they're being so creative with it. They're not sitting there and waiting to get the office job or the corporate job. And regarding the weakness, what I was saying is that many people as Africans, I don't want to speak for everyone, but many people as Africans, we tend to limit ourselves to feel like we cannot achieve more, and it's kind of our weakness. But if we are able to eliminate that challenge and conquer more, we can get to many places.
I need cross-border interoperability. We have to make movement seamlessly, right? We don't have to restrict each other as an African Union. One African country, just like how Kigali has done, we can just enter by just taking your passport or your Ghana card and you are in Kigali. I think it's a positive thing. And if we want to change the mindset of Africa, we don't have to restrict ourselves. We need to trade among each other. So I believe that's what I want a country to do, I want Africa to do.
The president of the Africa School of Governance, Francis Gatari, says the forum will also examine several continental initiatives and projects that have been adopted at the continental level but whose implementation has remained slow.
Upon that reflection, there will be commitments to change. That's why the forum is called Mindset Reset Forum. And so we aim to actually bring to surface both the negative mindsets as well as the positive mindsets. And at the personal level, everyone will have a chance to reflect on this. The second thing that makes it special is that we are not going to be diagnosing the problems of Africa. Instead, we are going to be looking at some flagship initiatives on our continent that demand our collective support, and which initiatives are currently being held back by the kind of negative mindsets that are dominating leadership. And we want to expose them and be able to commit to change them, and in so doing, to support these initiatives. There are several other initiatives which will be highlighted during the forum.
Speaking during a press briefing, President Paul Kagame also addressed what he described as a misguided mindset among some Africans who adopt an attitude of indifference towards the continent's challenges.
Many years ago, we really had the people, including those like in your category, those who are here, who would not do much that they could have done, just because they think it is somebody else's responsibility, or worse still, They think somebody will come from somewhere outside of our borders to come and help, or to come and remind you what you have to do. And then you could find leaders really so deficient in this area, where they would just, and adoring others for what she or he could have done himself. That's a terrible thing about mindset. Even when all the means are there, you still want somebody to remind you what you should be doing, or to instruct you, or you even feel you are accountable to the other one. I mean, about your own business, which really amounts to a shame in a way.
The Africa Mindset Reset Forum 2026 will run for 2 days. It is bringing together more than 1,500 participants in person, while an additional 7,000 people are expected to follow the discussions virtually. The forum brings together young people under the age of 35 alongside experienced African leaders and governance practitioners from different sectors and countries across the continent. Enora Gladys, RwandaTV News.
We've come to the end of this edition of the News in English. I'm glad you were able to join us. Do stay with Rwanda Television as the programs continue. Until we see each other again, goodbye.